welcome to the Momversation Club, the podcast born out of the idea that every mum needs a tribe. I'm Claire Strong.
And I'm Christina Struckmeyer. We're two moms just like you, navigating the chaotic, challenging, and often isolating world of motherhood.
Now, it's said that it takes a village to raise a child, but we want to know, where the F is that village?
It's a question that resonates with so many of us who find ourselves raising children, managing careers, and trying to maintain our own identities, often with a sense of isolation.
Yeah, it can be tough, but we're here to remind you that you're not alone. The Momversation Club is your village, a place where you feel valued, appreciated, and understood.
We believe that by sharing our own experiences, successes, and struggles, that we can create a virtual village for all you amazing mamas out there.
So join us every week for an honest, raw, and relatable discussion about all aspects of motherhood, including the stuff you just can't talk about with anyone else.
So if you've ever asked yourself, where the F is the village? Well, you found your tribe. Let's get into it.
Hi, Christina.
Hey, Claire. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm a little tired today. I feel like I'm running on really low energy, but I always get energy from our podcast, so I'm good.
Me
How
too.
about you?
I feel like whenever I leave this podcast, and maybe our listeners feel the same, it's like little mini therapy sessions.
Oh, yeah.
And I get that like endorphin boost from our conversations. And I'm always like, oh, I can't wait for our audience to hear this. And then we have to wait a few weeks because we record ahead.
Yeah, I know. I feel the same. And I don't know about you, but after we've finished recording, I always feel like, I feel kind of, like you said, we've been in a therapy session. I feel a little bit exhausted, but in a good way.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Well, today is going to be kind of like that, right? With the topic that we're having.
it is.
I'm really excited about today's topic because I know nothing about it. And those are kind of my favorite topics because I learned so much and I'm able to lean in on, either our guest or you or whatever research we're jumping into. So share with our audience about this exciting topic for today.
Okay, so anyone who has teenagers will already know about this topic, I'm pretty sure. But today we're going to be focusing on vaping. Now, let's just start from the beginning. If you don't know what a vape is, so basically a vape is it's like they're also called e-cigarettes, just to kind of point that out too. So they are little devices. In fact, I have one next to me, which I'm going to bring in during the conversation in a few minutes. But they are devices that can be inhaled, and they emit a mist kind of substance. And so you're basically inhaling them, and included in that mist, in that vapor, are lots of harmful chemicals, including nicotine, including tobacco. And so that's what they are, and they're like the cigarettes of choice for teenagers.
So this is what all the kids are doing right now. Because, when we were coming up, we had our own stuff, but like, this is the newfangled thing. I sound like I'm ancient, Claire, but this is the thing that the kids are doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember, so I'm going to date myself too. When I was first starting my career as a journalist, I remember doing lots of stories about e-cigarettes, and they were at the time advertised, certainly in the UK, as being this like wonderful solution to smoking, or a smoking cessation tool. So you're smoking cigarettes, but these e-cigarettes are potentially less harmful, and they can help you come off cigarettes, and they're not as smelly and all of that. But fast forward to today, vapes are very much the drug or cigarette of choice, if you like, for teens and tweens. I mean, some of the statistics are actually really quite shocking, Christina.
Yeah, bring them on. I want to hear about it. I'm like, what is this?
So as I'm talking right now, over 2 million students vape in the US.
Whoa.
A quarter of those, and this is a worrying statistic too, a quarter of those say that they actually smoke or vape every day. So this is clearly becoming a really addictive habit for some of these kids. And some of the reasons why vapes are so dangerous is because not only do they contain really harmful chemicals, so you've got nicotine in there, some of them can also contain cannabis. But the problem is, because kids are getting hold of these, their adolescent brains are very, very sensitive, particularly to nicotine. And so these are especially harmful things for the people whose hands they're falling into, because it's potentially impacting their mood, their focus, their brain's ability to function. And because they're starting so young, they're much, much more likely to establish a regular nicotine habit. And I just want to, on that note, bring in a vape. So
Yeah, your
I actually have
prompt.
one
Yes.
here. This is one that let's just say, it came into my possession. I won't go any further than that. So I don't know
Noted.
if
Noted.
you can see this very well, Christina, because of my light.
Yeah.
So I'll just describe it for anyone who may not be watching us on YouTube as well. So this one, it's really cute. And this is the issue. I mean, look at this. It looks, at first, I thought it was like a cute hand sanitizer. I'll just bring it up to the camera a little bit more. So it's, which one? It says Geek Bar Pulse. And this flavor is pink lemonade. And so, and it smells pretty good. So what I'm looking at here, for those who aren't watching us, is it's a little kind of palm size cube almost. It's really pretty. It's pink. It's got cute writing on it. The flavor's pink lemonade. It's very Instagrammable.
Yeah.
As I whack my microphone with it, it's
Yes, yes.
this is
Well,
the type of
for
thing that yeah, for teenage girls, they would actually feel pretty cool holding that in their hands and doing TikToks with it and all of that.
you
And
know,
and this
as
for
a
me,
as
yeah.
a mom who hasn't encountered that yet,
Hmm.
seeing that device, it looks like for you older like millennial, Gen X or whatever, it looks like a pager. Like it looks like a little pager or like maybe
Yes,
a
it
very
does.
early flip phone.
Yeah,
And I
it
would
does.
not clock that as something that had nicotine in it. Like it looks like it might be some sort of recording device or a technological something. So I'm really glad that you're bringing awareness to this because maybe there's other moms like myself who don't even know what those look like. Because when I think e-cigarette, I think maybe like it looks like a cigarette, but it's electronic. I've never seen those. And I think what's dangerous about these, Claire, since you've been sharing this information, is that
Hmm.
when we were growing up, cigarettes were obviously on the market. Like there were people that smoked, but you could
Hmm.
clock that. You could smell the cigarette on them, or there would be smoke in the air. You could smell after you've left. I remember I had a friend who would smoke in her room and she'd leave the window open and like have a fan and like, try to
Yeah.
disguise the fact that she was smoking, but also the accessibility of those was really hard to find. You couldn't really, you had to go to a store and find someone to bum cigarettes off of. Like it was very hard to get. And
Mm.
trying it for the first time was also an obstacle because they
Hmm.
were very demonized. Like when I was growing up, there was all these ads about how harmful tobacco is and all of these. Like I remember very vividly, there was like a woman that was missing part of her throat. And there was like
Mm.
commercials of her talking with a machine because
Hmm.
her lungs were so affected by tobacco. Scared the
Hmm.
shit out of me. Um,
Yeah.
but these vapes are so different, right?
So here's the thing. Yes, they are. However, they're different because they look prettier.
Mhm.
They don't scream cigarettes when you look at these things. And the big attraction for kids and for teenagers, particularly teenage girls, are the flavors. And this one here, this is pink lemonade. I mean, just to give you an example, my youngest daughter, who is in eighth grade, so this is an issue with middle schoolers as well as high schoolers. She tells me that she often walks into the bathroom at school and it smells of mint, or it smells of bubble gum, or it smells of strawberry. And that's because kids have been in there vaping. And so this is why they are so dangerous. And this is why I feel that the companies behind these, one of them is Jules. They're a big company that I believe have been kind of around since the beginning, since the inception of e-cigarettes and vapes. They have a lot to answer for, because you're not telling me that this product is marketed towards 50-year-old men who are trying to quit smoking, because they've been an addict for 30 years. They are clearly aimed at teenage girls, young girls, And for me, that's just inexcusable because, they are exposing our kids to addiction, to anxiety and depression, impotence, sleep problems, cancer causing chemicals, chronic bronchitis, lung damage. I mean, these are just a few of the side effects that smoking vapes can do to our kids. And I just think it's absolutely shocking that these companies haven't been brought to task. What I will say is, there are countries that are cracking down on this already. The UK, for example, in January of this year, they now have a ban. So
Mm.
retailers cannot sell vapes to, at all, which is fantastic. And then in California, and I both live here in the state. I don't know whether
Yeah.
you were familiar with this, Christina, but we have a law called SB 793 that came into effect this January this year. And that also bans retailers from selling vapes, basically flavored e-cigarettes in all of their forms. And so that's great. So, some states, some countries are taking action. But, I think it's unfortunately down to us, the parents, the mums, to really make a
Yeah.
noise about this, because these things are so easy to get hold of. And we can, talk about the dangers of them until we're blue in the face. But if they are so easily available, if they are going to school and these have been passed around in eighth grade bathrooms, there's something that's going wrong, and it's kind of out of our control at that point. And so I really think we need to make a lot of noise about it. Something else I want to talk about is actually how we, approach this subject to our kids.
Yeah,
Um,
that was my next question is
yeah.
what should we do as moms to kind of
Okay.
get in front of this?
So, I mean, to back up, a few years ago, I remember my daughter's elementary school had this, evening with, and it was this doctor who was giving advice on how to approach the subject of vaping with your kid, about, what they look like. Because honestly, when I first saw this vape, I thought it was a hand sanitizer because, I haven't ever seen one, in person before. And so I went through, all of those kind of seminars or whatever that the school put on. But then fast forward a few years, I'd kind of forgotten a lot about that. And so I've had to do my own research, because without going into too much detail, I found this vape recently in the house. And so
Yeah.
thankfully, I'd remembered this tip. And, what you need to do is, so for example, when I found this vape, my immediate reaction, obviously, I'm shocked, I'm concerned. But I didn't scream and shout at my kid. I stayed really calm, and I think that's the key here. Um, so make sure, and we've approached this topic before. This doesn't just lend itself to vaping. This lends itself to lots of other things. Keeping an open dialogue with your children. Make sure they're able to come to you, and they don't feel that by coming to you, you're going to scream at them, you're going to ground them, because then they're not going to share this type of thing with
Exactly.
you. So don't do anything that's going to shut down the conversation. If, like me, you have just, maybe you've not had the conversation before, but you found something that's actually prompted you to have the conversation, before you have that conversation, make sure that you, as the mom, as the parent, know what you're talking about. So, number one, get yourself educated. Go on somewhere like the CDC's website, for example, Center of Disease Control, or a reputable website that has actual tangible fact-based suggestions and information surrounding vape. So make sure that you yourself know what they are and what the dangers are. And that way, when you're talking to your child, you're going to feel informed, and that's going to give you more confidence to approach the situation as well. And
Yeah.
so, practical things would be, don't bring this conversation up at an inappropriate time. When you're on the way to, doing the school run, you're about to drop your child off. Don't start this conversation then. They're going to leave the car all stressed. You're going to be stressed. The whole thing's, not the right moment. So make sure you find the right moment to speak to your child. When you're having a down moment with them, or when things are kind of calm, make the conversation quick and succinct. Don't, go on and on and on. Have some talking points and stick to them. So basically, things like, hey, do you, your friends vaping? Is this going on at school? Just to let this is not gonna help you live the best life. You want to be the best version of you. You've got all these hopes and dreams. By doing this is kind of gonna ruin those. And just give them some very basic facts, so you're not overwhelming them. And if you've got
Yeah.
teens, you'll know that they hate
Well,
being lectured. If they feel like you're
they do not
lecturing at
like that.
them, yeah,
I was just
it's
gonna say,
not going
like,
to go
the other
well.
thing is, Claire, is you have to walk that fine line with the teen, right? Of like
Hmm.
understanding where they're coming from, being the parent, not their friend,
Mm,
but also not exaggerating like the consequence. Like I remember, for instance, during a sex talk, hearing a lot
mm,
of like, well, if you have sex, you will probably get an STD or get pregnant. And it's like that scene in Mean
yeah.
Girls, like, don't have sex, you will get pregnant or die. Like, don't go way out there. But like, for instance, teens right now, they are doing so much slathering and 50-step routines to maintain their glowy skin and their youth. And
Hmm.
do they know that vapes create, premature wrinkles, and like, nicotine
Yeah.
can cause aging? Like, what are the things that we can share with them that will help them make the decision that is the healthier decision? Because they're going to do what they're going to do unless they feel like they've got a reason to stop. They're going to
Mm.
find that friend who's got the vape, even if you confiscated 100 vapes, if they want to. But if you bring to the table, like, hey, these are the reasons why this should matter to you, maybe that can change the trajectory of what's going on, I imagine.
I think that's a great point, actually, Christina. You know your child, you know what triggers them, and especially with teenage girls, they're obviously all about, looking good and their image. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
if you say to them, hey, listen, just to let you know, I know you take such great care of yourself, and, you eat well and you're so into your skincare routine. Well, vapes are going to undo all of that good work. Put it in their language, let them be able
Hmm.
to visualize how that would potentially impact their life. Um, and I just go back to, I think the key here is, I know as a parent it's scary. It really is. These things are not innocent. I mean, they look like they are because that's a marketing ploy on behalf of these tobacco companies. So they are dangerous, and they can lead to addiction and all the health risks that we've already touched upon. That
Yeah.
said, as you've just said, Christina, scaremongering them, that may not be an appropriate approach, because, that could turn your kid the other way and make them maybe rebel against what you're saying to them. So know your kid. And it's just, I think it's about you as the parent being as equipped as you can be, to have this conversation with them, and b feel comfortable about the subject, so that when you do have this conversation with them, by the way, you'll probably have more than one conversation. I'm
Oh
just
yeah,
gonna
I
put
imagine
that
so.
out
And
now. This is not
yeah,
a one and done situation
no.
for many people. So yeah, it's
This is
just
good tips though, Claire, because the thing about it
oh,
is it's
good.
not just the vapes. Like maybe you discover marijuana in their like underwear drawer, or a bottle of alcohol, or whatever, insert thing here, and how you handle that first like discovery and the first kind of encounter with something that maybe isn't healthy for them is kind of how you're going to set the tone for the rest of that situation. That
Hmm.
being said, if you're a parent and you've already gone through the vaping situation and maybe you handled it poorly, it's never too late to turn it around. I firmly believe as a parent that we are open to making mistakes. It's okay if we do, as long as we come back around and correct ourselves. So if maybe you're in a situation where you have discovered the vape and like went, what the fuck is this? Like, fully lost
Ah,
your cool and like grounded them for 100 years. Maybe getting some more data, talking to the school counselor, chatting with some resource people, may help you redirect that conversation so that they are learning, because they're going to eventually go off to college and these things are going to come into their lives. And we want to equip our kids to live lives that are good. And, this kind of stuff can be very detrimental to their health. Ultimately, though, when they become adults in just like a few short years, you
Oh
know,
God, don't remind me.
they will make decisions, and it's like we want them to hear our voice, in the back of their head when they're making these decisions.
Yeah, here's the thing. You've hit the nail on the head there, Christina. Our job as parents, particularly parents of teens, is to help them make the right choices. You're not always going to be there. Of course, you're not. You're not going to be there 99% of the time when they're in situations that, potentially could be hazardous to them. So you just want to develop and nurture this person, this young adult, to go and make good decisions for them, whether you're there or not. And the chances are you're not going to be there. So I think that's absolutely right. The other thing to touch upon, if your child is, unfortunately addicted to vapes and they are doing it a lot, it's like a cigarette smoker coming off cigarettes. And so they're going to need some support, because quitting vaping is not an easy thing. And so, again, you said that a few minutes ago, go and get some resources. You don't have to deal with this on your own. Let me tell you, the school counselors are all over this. I mean, literally, my daughter's middle school, and it's a great school, by the way. The teachers are fantastic. It doesn't matter whereabouts you are. This is just going to happen with kids all over.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I'm telling you, that school spends 90% of its time dealing with vapes, checking students' bags, and
Well,
goodness knows whatever
yeah.
else. So, oh
And
yeah.
every
So,
county, at least in California, I don't know how it is in other states, but every county in California has a Health and Human Services agency in their county, and they get money from the government to help educate about these types of things. And so
yeah.
they'll be able to point you in the right direction of this organization or that organization that helps, and maybe has some talking points or has some structure, or maybe even help with like nicotine patches and things that might help them reduce the vaping and help them get off of it, because there is
Yeah.
a cost associated with that as well. And so you just don't know until you know. What we can do as the Momversation Club is we collected some resources for this talk, and so we can include those in our show notes. And then if you're somebody who is a professional with this, or maybe you've encountered this as a parent and you have resources, this is a tribe. We like to build a collective here. Share those in our Instagram comments and our Facebook comments. Let us know, private DM us, whatever, and we can share those resources with our peeps.
Absolutely. And just one thing I want to share, which is kind of funny in a not so funny way. When I discovered this vape in the house, my daughter said to me, she's like, Mum, she's like, you know how to dispose of it, don't you? I was like, what do you mean? I'm just going to put it in the bin. And she's like, oh, no, you don't do that. She said, you must put it in a cup of water, because if that actually destroys it, you have to put it in water. So I was like, oh, okay, well, thank you for the tip. Not that I'll ever need to do this again, because there'll never be a vape that I find. So, oh my God. So anyway,
But good
trying to find some
information to
humor in
have,
it.
because I would have just thrown it away too. There's certain things you can't throw away. It's dangerous. And so
Well, yeah. I mean, she said, and I haven't fact checked this, that it's to do with a fire risk. I don't know. They can become flammable. God knows. So I will be immersing this in water just in case. But the reason I still have it on my person is not because I've been smoking it. I'll just add that. Although it does smell good, which is half of the problem. But it's because I wanted to save it for today's episode, just to show other mums, because I had no idea. I had no idea that they look like this, or that is what this was, until I gave it a second glance, and I was like, yeah, that's not hand sanitizer. Definitely not.
nope, not at all. Well, I'm really glad that you brought this to our attention, because I know a lot of our listeners, they do have teens,
Yeah.
but then a lot of other listeners have younger children that are going to be coming into this very soon. Like you said, your middle schooler
Yeah.
is talking about this right now. And so if you're someone who hasn't thought about this or hasn't, done any education, it's something to brush up on, because the kids have these in their hands, they're passing them around. And if I know kids, it gets younger and younger every year. So by the time your kid gets there, you got to make sure that you're up to date with everything that's going on.
For sure. And that brings us to the end of another episode of the Momversation Club.
And if you've enjoyed today's show, which we hope you have, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a review. Your support helps us reach even more moms and build a stronger village.
It sure does. Until next time, bye!